it real while the mothers stay plastic. You're my Wonder Woman, call me Mr. Fantastic. Stop. Now think about it. I've been to London, I've been to Paris, even where there in Tokyo. Back home down in Georgia, to New Orleans, but you always did the show. And just like that, girl, you got me froze. Like a Nintendo 64. If you never knew, well, now you know. No.
Beautiful girls all over the world. I could be chasing, but my time would be wasted. They got nothing on you.
Nothing on you, babe. Nothing on you.
Nothing on you.
Nothing on you, babe. Nothing on you.
They might say hi, and I might say hey, but you shouldn't worry about what they say, 'cause they got nothing on you.
Nothing on you, babe. Nothing on you.
Nothing on you.
Nothing on you, babe. Nothing on you. Everywhere I go, I'm always hearing your name. And no matter where I'm at, girl, you make me wanna sing. Whether a bus or a plane, or a car or a train, no other girls on my brain, and you the one to blame.
Beautiful girls all over the world. I could be chasing, but my time would be wasted. They got nothing on you.
Nothing on you, babe. Nothing on you.
Nothing on you.
Nothing on you, babe. Nothing on you.
They might say hi, and I might say hey, but you shouldn't worry about what they say, 'cause they got nothing on you.
Nothing on you, babe. Nothing on you.
Nothing on you.
Nothing on you, babe. Nothing on you. Yeah. And that's just how we do it. And I'm gonna let this ride. B.O.B. and Bruno Mars.
Yeah, my brothers are watching this concert. My mom and dad are here. No pressure. Yeah, my friends. Yeah, coffee is good. Yeah, coffee, so I wouldn't feel any pressure whatsoever. Not me, but I really tried.
Don't take me time. Don't wait no goodbye.
Yes, I do.
Don't take me time.
I got you. Yes, in the middle one. No, it's the laser. I got you. You are awesome. Thank you. So does she need them both?
My name's Hannah. I'm part of Kappa Delta Pi, which is helping to put this education symposium on. Thank y'all all so much for coming out. Y'all are going to hear a super great talk. I got to hear her speak it too, and she's got so many amazing things to say. Sorry, y'all. So y'all are going to hear from Martha Saucedo, who is an instructional specialist at the Region 15 Education Service Center, and her talk is entitled "Failure is Not an Option, It's an Opportunity." She knows that some of her greatest accomplishments have come from some of her biggest failures, and she's fine with that. In fact, she's motivated to do anything. Way before she was named the Secondary Teacher of the Year for Texas, the HEB Excellence in Leadership Teacher, and the Region 2 FCS Outstanding Teacher, Martha Saucedo was busy failing and growing. In the words of Thomas Edison's mother, Nancy Edison, empower students to fail, not be ashamed or overwhelmed by it. That is why erasers are on the backs of pencils. While coaching, Martha often shares with teachers, failure is not an option, it's an opportunity. Some of the best relationships I had with teachers were the ones that allowed me to fail, challenged me to fix it, and then grow from it and learn from it to make myself better. Again, she works as an instructional specialist at Region 15, primarily coaching new teachers. She holds a bachelor's degree in communication and psychology and a master's degree in applied psychology from Angelo State University. So please join me in welcoming Martha Saucedo.
Thank you. So before I begin tonight, I'd like to say thank you to Angelo State University, to the Education Department, to Dr. Kimberly Dickerson and Dr. Leah Caruth. I have had the opportunity to have lunch and dinner with these ladies and really get to know them. They're very special and unique women. I'd also like to thank Kappa Delta Phi, the officers and members, and to each of you for allowing me the opportunity to take part in the Education Symposium. In the words of my favorite poet and author and writer, Maya Angelou, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I feel truly blessed. And I actually feel like I'm also giving a speech at the Oscars. So I'm going to try to get myself back on track. Good evening. How are you? Good? Good. Raise your hand if you've ever given a speech. It's scary, isn't it? You know, I remember as a teacher talking to my students about public speaking, and I would share with them all the time that even though I knew that it was America's #1 phobia, because it is, I would tell my students, with good preparation, with practice and good breathing techniques that it was easy. So take a deep breath. Yeah, that's so much easier said than done. And I will tell you, and you would think that after 12 years of standing in front of a classroom, that this would be natural to me. Well, it isn't, okay? I get nervous. I've been sitting over here with the Ram TV crew trying to calm myself down, okay? I am a complete mess. I will tell you, I get nervous. I start thinking about things. I get this dry mouth. I have water here. I have water down here that poor young girl was tripping on. I get the shakes of the podium, even though I think this podium's too big to shake. I will be completely honest. And I definitely start thinking about this speech is going to be a total disaster. I really do. But just as fast as these thoughts enter my mind, they exit. And then I remind myself, Saucy, yeah, you got this. You got it, girl. You know, as a psychology graduate, I self-talk quite often, I'll tell you. But I'm going to tell you something tonight. I didn't always believe that. This whole I can do anything thing. Like many people, I've learned by my success through failure. And I'm excited to be here tonight to share just another story. And I say that because every single person in this room, no matter what age you are, you have a story. You have a reason that you are in this room tonight. Maybe you are here to listen to a speaker to learn something new. Yeah, that would be nice. Maybe you are here as part of a class assignment thinking, God, it would be nice if I could learn something new. Maybe you're here because you got lost on campus and you wandered into this room. Maybe you're here because you're getting extra credit. Woohoo! Maybe you were blackmailed by friends to be here today, hoping deep down inside that I have some magic, musical, or comedic talent that's going to keep you entertained for the next hour or so. Well, unfortunately, I don't. I'm sorry. You see, I'm just a teacher with another story and 3 valuable lessons that I'd like to share with you. A teacher who stood in front of a classroom and fell in love with teaching. And because I'm a teacher, I got to give a shout out to my peeps. So if you are a teacher, a professor, a retired educator, a substitute, a Sunday school teacher, if you're an after-school tutor, if you're an education major, God, I hope I got you all. Will you please stand? Woo woo! I see you all excited back there. Okay, I need you to say, stay standing. I didn't say sit down. Please stay standing for me. Okay, this is my little shout out to you. You know, these educators have shared countless quotes, phrases, or they're going to, words to inspire students. They have seen students achieve success through adversity. They've probably held hands with students who feared graduation. They've been called mom countless times. They have seen goodness in students. They've led by example by having the right attitude each day, understanding that if they can have a bad day at their age, then their students can too. They've helped them understand entitlement and how others came before them and worked hard to allow them to feel accomplished. They've taught them the importance of leaving a lasting impression, and not just for themselves, but for their future children and their families. They've taught them the significance of social cues. They've held them accountable for their actions. They've lifted their heads from their cell phones to see the bigger picture in front of them. They've taught them that just because everyone is doing it, it doesn't make it right. Their job is to teach. But these individuals standing, they have and they will inspire, motivate, and ignite passions every day. They are teachers. Give them a round of applause. Now you can sit down. I won't make you stand for an hour. That would just be cruel of me to do that. You know, a couple of years ago, I was inspired to write about my passion for education, and I called this the ABCs of education when I wrote it. You know, since we were young, we've been taught the ABCs of education. And today, I would like to talk to you about the ABCs of education and what it means to you and me. See, A is the attitude, acceptance is the A's you'll place on their papers. It's B, being present in the C, classroom. D, delivering knowledge. It's E, effort, their effort, your effort. Excellence in everything you do. F, forward, moving forward to create. G, greatness, allowing it to expand and the gifted to emerge. You see, it's H, heart. That is why you are here. I, inspiring. I do this, you do this. Because of J, the journey. K, of knowledge. L, of love and learning and teaching. Because M, it matters. What we do matters. N, nurture, we nurture the next generation. For O, opportunity, we offer opportunity while being optimistic. For P, possibilities, you are priceless. Q, question, don't question why you are here. You are chosen, Mr. Clausen. And you have an R, responsibility to provide rigor and relevance in helping students become S, successful. Why? Because you are a T, teacher today, tomorrow, tough love, you teach because you, you understand the importance of what we do and who they will become. It is a V, validation, with a W, willingness to X, Xerox copies of students who are smart and creative. And we do this each Y year because the young are our future. And you are 1Z, 100% of everything A through Z in education. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what it means to you and me. So, I like to rap. I'm not Cardi B, but I do like to rap occasionally. I told those boys, I told you, Sam, I like to rap. Where is Sam? Give me that Cardi B thing. You won't do it, won't you? Oh, come on, Sam. Heart. I'm going to tell you, heart. That is why I am here. My heart has been in education for 14 years, but Mom and Dad, I've been a teacher my whole life. Guys, my mom and dad are here. They've never heard me speak before. I'm going to try to hold myself together as I look at my parents in the very back row, just like the bad kids. Okay. My heart has been in education my whole life, and I've been a teacher my whole life. As the firstborn, oldest of 5 and only girl, I guess you can say I was born with a little toughness and a little teacher. 2 things I have definitely had to learn to embrace. So much so that as a junior in high school, I bet my best friend $150,000 that I would never become a teacher. Yeah. And just in case you are wondering, no, I did not pay that bet. Why? Because my best friend became a teacher too. And she knows that number's a little out of both of our salary range. So to say the least, I've embraced tough and I've embraced teacher. As their big sister, I was born with the expectations to be a leader, a protector, and a role model, even if it wasn't said out loud. I became the big sister that would stand between 2 boys, and I would say, if you're going to hit my brother, you're going to hit me first. And he did. At least until my mama got out there and pulled him off of me. I fought for them. I changed their pampers, I cooked their meals, and occasionally I had to convince shoppers at our local grocery store that at 15, I really wasn't their mom, despite my 2 youngest brothers tugging at my shirt, calling me mom. And I was definitely the big sister that would take the heat for every time they got in trouble. And with 4 of them, that was quite often. I love being a big sister, but it has definitely taken me time to become a leader, a protector, and a role model. I can honestly say it's been an education filled with many successes and many failures. An education that has transformed me into the woman, the mom, and the teacher I am today. And so, my story begins. Or, what my students would say, Miss Salcedo's Lifetime movie, a script that couldn't be written any other way. My grandma cleaned houses for a living. It was a skill that she passed down to my mama. And by the time I was 5, I could make my bed, right, Mama? At 12, I would get picked up from school and I would go clean. By high school, cleaning houses is what I did with my mom. No pay, just work. So at 21 and a single mom, I did what was natural to me. I took a job cleaning. I swept floors, I vacuumed, and I dreamt of a bigger life. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to be financially stable. My grandma cleaned houses. My mama cleaned houses. And I thought my life was going to be cleaning houses. You see, at a young age, education was never really a big priority. It was church on Sundays, putting food on the table, and caring for family. And I'm grateful for that. Because with those priorities, my mom and dad instilled in me a tremendous work ethic. When it came to education, I really never understood that real importance. I never understood how writing would affect my first job application, how I would use math to balance a checkbook, or how I would read to my son for the first years of his life. And so for that first lesson, I had to learn to appreciate the value of learning. I had a lot of curlies though. So it would be 4th grade, Miss Lewis at Cook Elementary in Austin, Texas, who would sing every day with a big hug. And I want you to sing with me. Well, not with me, because I can't sing. I can't sing at all. My mom has a singing voice.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine.
I want to hear y'all sing. You elementary future teachers, you should be singing.
You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
Okay, so that's the wrong date on there. It should be 1986. That makes me look really old. Okay, so I know Miss Lewis does not look very warm right there, but Miss Lewis was very warm and fun. She would give us a hug every day, and she sang this song every single day. And I will tell you, I have found everybody who's impacted my life except for Miss Lewis. Because in 4th grade, I only knew her as Miss Lewis. So if anyone knows how I can find Miss Lewis, because I've contacted Austin ISD, I cannot find this woman. So if you know how to find her, you come and see me, because I need to find this woman so I can tell her I love her. Okay? But Miss Lewis was a rock star in 4th grade. My mom and dad had us living there in Austin, and we had some really good times. Later on, after a couple of years, my parents moved us from Austin to Menard. I'm going to let that register for just a second. From Austin to Menard. Because I remember walking into my 8th grade class with my MC Hammer pants and my black glossy shoes. I remember walking into that 8th grade class and looking at everybody wearing t-shirts and Wranglers. I thought I'd entered into the Twilight Zone. My 8th grade teacher looked at me and he said, "Hey there, city slicker." Good thing I loved basketball. Talk about an education. Good thing that next year came, because it would be Coach Cavender who would make me excited about school the next year. I loved basketball. Coach Cavender and that mustache took a chance, and he believed that this 5'4" Hispanic girl could play basketball at the varsity level and score over 1,000 points in over 4 years. And then it would be Mr. Niffen, my government teacher, who would share stories that would ignite our imagination, like the time he claimed he walked barefoot in the snow, waist high, for 7 miles in nothing but his boxers. Yes, right, Mr. Niffen. And as upperclassmen, it was Miss Jackson, my English 4 teacher, who inspired us to be outstanding, creative, and to strive for greatness with that red pen of hers. Did y'all have an English teacher like that? Slaughtered our papers with her red pen. Just slaughtered them. We would read up to 10 books a year. Well, I had Cliff Notes, okay? I'll be honest. We would write over 30 essays a year. It was absolute greatness. And while all these educators influenced my life, none were more influential than Miss Austin, my second mom, my teacher of the century. Relentless, and when I say relentless, Miss Laura Austin has taught me the importance of an investment. Guys, at 17, she made me write an essay for the electorate co-op contest, a contest that was not a part of school, for a chance to win a trip to Washington, D.C. See, all the top students in my class had been working on this essay for weeks. And as for me in class rankings, well, guys, I was a get-by student in the middle of the pack. So when I told her no, she threatened to fail me. I said, Miss Austin, you can't fail me. I have an A in your class. She said, sure I can. I'm your teacher. So as I prepared for the regional tennis tournament, I wrote the paper and I gave it back to Miss Austin, who was also an English teacher. She slaughtered it with her red pen, and then she gave it back to me and she said, type it up. So I did, with a typewriter and whiteout. That gives you my age, okay? Typed it up, gave it to her, and I headed for regionals. When I got back, there she was in the parking lot on a Saturday. My tennis partner and my best friend, Marla, said, man, Saucy, what have you done to that woman? She's here on a Saturday afternoon. I got off the bus where Miss Austin shared that I had won the essay competition. That weekend, I thought about my trip. I knew my parents couldn't afford to probably give me that extra spending money, and deep down inside, I was just scared. I'd never gone anywhere by myself. So, that following week, I shared it with Miss Austin. I mentioned to her about the extra money, and I told her I was scared. Well, that didn't stop the teacher. She assured me that sometimes we have to do things that are scary and that anything was possible. So that day, she passed around a coffee cup at school, and she collected $200 for me to take to Washington, D.C. At 17, this was my first trip to Washington, a trip that I would make 21 years later with my students competing in parliamentary law at the Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America National Conference. A trip that would be the first for several of them, and one that I wanted to make sure that was special, at least as special as mine. And as we were visiting the sites, I watched as my students took in the nation's capital, and I watched them purchase souvenirs that they were going to buy for their loved ones. And then I remembered my old 17 self. Yeah, I remember buying Miss Austin something. I bought her a coffee cup, because that's what you buy all teachers, right? A coffee cup. I had bought her this coffee cup. It was white and it was black. It had black line all the way around it and it had all the monuments on there. And I gave it to Miss Austin. I was really proud of this coffee cup at 17. Well, years would pass and I would graduate from college. Miss Austin would send a box, and it was my graduation gift. So I opened the box, and inside the box was a coffee cup with her lipstick still planted on the coffee cup from Washington, D.C., because that woman loves to re-gift. Telling you. And inside of it was a little note that read, "You finally spread your wings and flew on your own." It would be the perfect story ending in a very short speech if I told you I graduated high school, that I went straight to college, I became a teacher, and the rest is history. But that's not how it happened, guys. See, like many things in life, if you'll look a little closer, you'll see all of my imperfections. All the imperfections that actually made my life pretty great. So my second lesson, failure doesn't mean done. Just means I need to do it over. When Walt Disney was told he had no creativity, he didn't stop. No, he went on to give us Mickey, Goofy, and Donald. When Michael Jordan was cut from his school basketball team, he didn't quit shooting hoops. No, he became one of the greatest athletes of all time. And before she would become one of the richest women in the UK, with her Harry Potter series, J.K. Rowling would be penniless and living on government welfare. The grass is always greener on the other side until you get to the other side. I was a confident young lady, and I had all of the support I needed to be successful. But I tell you, it would be failure that would bring me to my knees. As a teenager, I was pretty naive, and I believed everything people told me, especially those in authority. So young future educators, please listen to this part. So what would happen when a teacher would tell me I would never amount to anything? I would believe her, and I would allow her words to muddy my thoughts for quite a while. As an insecure graduate, I went off to college at 19. I took a partial scholarship to play basketball, and I moved 6 hours away from my family because that's what teenagers do. I want to run away as far as I can from my family. After 2 years of distractions, immaturity, and inexperience, I found myself desperate and headed back to my small country town of Menard. Stubborn and strong-willed, I had trained myself through sports that failure was not an option. And the hardest realization coming home is that I was not returning as a college graduate. I was not returning as Miss Menard High School, not as a basketball hero, but rather in my standards, a failure. With a broken engagement, a baby on the way, and the words, "You'll never amount to anything," stuck in the back of my mind. After the birth of my son, Tristan, I felt the best thing for me to do was to move out on my own. Too proud, I left with nothing. I asked for nothing. And the following 2 years would become the hardest 2 years of my life. At 21 and a new mom, I knew nothing, and I was experiencing life to the fullest. I moved into a one-bedroom apartment behind HEB on Sherwood Way, and I began looking for work immediately. For a brief moment, I worked as a telemarketer at Sitel, at least until I realized I didn't enjoy people yelling at me. I worked as a waitress at Applebee's. I even sold Kirby vacuum cleaners door to door. I would leave my newborn baby with a lady downstairs. She had 2 kids, so I figured she knew what she was doing. No background check, no details, and it was only costing me $50 a week. I was pretty naive. I knew I needed extra money, so I went to the Texas Department of Human Services when it was on Bell Street, and I applied for food stamps and Medicaid. After 3 hours of waiting with my baby, I was called to the front desk. They took one look at my paperwork and said I didn't qualify because I had a used car in my name and I had a job. Can't eat a car, can you? I felt pretty defeated. Some days I could eat a can of corn, and on a good week it was a KFC 2-piece chicken meal because that little boy loved those mashed potatoes and gravy. It was during this time of my life that I would experience a moment that would change my life forever. A moment that I rarely talk about because it's a moment that's so real that when you think about it, it just kind of takes you back. Living paycheck to paycheck and unable to pay my electricity bill, I realized I was living the life that my teacher had said. that I would never amount to anything. I wasn't in college. I wasn't playing basketball. I was no longer happy with myself. I was pretty angry. Most of you know I visit your classrooms today, and I shared my passion for teaching. And I have students that are here today and colleagues that I work with. If you knew me back then, I was the complete opposite person than what I am right now. I was full with a lot of anger, and I was very upset with my life. It wasn't the life that I had planned for myself. And I was angry at my family. I was angry at a lot of other people. But deep down inside, I had a lot of things I needed to fix with myself. And I was pushing the people who loved me most, and it wasn't their fault. It was things that I needed to fix within myself. I wasn't happy. The biggest thing I needed to understand that I was far from being the daughter I needed to be, the big sister I needed to be, and most importantly, the mother I needed to be. I went home for a visit, and I got into an argument with my mom about my life and some expectations. My mom, Bessie Salcedo, is a woman of her word, a woman of strength, a woman of God, a woman who has hoped to raise her only daughter in that image. We got into an argument. I slammed the door. I got in my car and I sped off. And as I reached the one stoplight in our town, I slammed on my brakes. The fiery redness of that red light burnt in every facet of my body, and I could feel my wrath and my anger as I gripped the wheel. I wanted to hit the gas. I wanted to speed away. I wanted to leave Menard. I wanted to leave my life. And as I waited for that light to turn green, I sat there with just tears building up in my eyes. My heart just hurt so much. Don't go. Don't go was the only voice that I could hear as I closed my eyes. Almost like I was answering my own question about leaving. And as the light turned green, I sat there in a trance with tears streaming down my face, completely beaten. My hands loosened from the wheel, and just like that, it happened. The screeching of tire wheels in front of my car as an 18-wheeler desperately tried not to run the red light. I watched as the tail end of the trailer made its way through the light before it would make a complete stop. With a pounding heart, I watched as the driver drove away, leaving a burnt rubber. And I wondered, was he surprised that my car was not attached to the front of his? With my light still green, I looked both ways. I crossed the road, and I pulled over. I took a deep breath. I put my head down, and I glanced in the back seat. And there he was, sound asleep, just a few months old. It was in that moment I realized that my failures were no longer going to define me. I had been given another chance, a chance to be more, and I wasn't done. I was meant for something more. He was meant for something more. It was my chance to be the best big sister, the best big daughter, the best big friend, the best big employee, the best big mother, and doggone it, I was going to live my best big life. My failures were no longer going to be options. They were going to be opportunities. And in that moment, in the words of Gandhi, I was no longer going to let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet. No longer. I was going to live the future I wanted to have. My failures didn't mean I was done, just mean I needed to start over. So I did. I had a new attitude and a new life. Something happened in that moment. I took off to San Angelo. Well, of course, I said goodbye to my family and gave them love. I took off to San Angelo. I had a new attitude. I had a new life. I had something. I took a position. I was good at cleaning. I was just going to do it. I took a job cleaning at Meadow Creek Nursing Home. I said, I'm going to be a housekeeper. I'm good at that. I can do it. I took a job cleaning rooms, bedpans. I was making up beds. My life was going to be about serving others, and I was good with that. And then one day, my boss, Miss Rab, walked in. Guys, Miss Rab was a tall woman, a powerful woman. She had beehive hair, like tall, like this. She's strong, arched back, walk like this. You think she'd had this white glove and just walked around like this, touching everything? She calls me, Martha, I need you in my office. I said, oh my God, this is like the principal. I'm going to get fired. I walked in there and I thought, oh no, I'm done. I said, yes, Miss Rab. She said, sit down. She said, Martha, the residents really do like your company. I said, okay. She said, have you ever thought about becoming a nurse's aide? I couldn't even afford a 3-piece chicken meal. I said, well, I was completely honest. I said, Miss Rab, I don't have the money. And without hesitation, she looked at me and she said, Martha, if I pay for you to go to college, will you become a nurse's aide for Meadow Creek? Yes, I told her, absolutely. And so she did. I'm going to tell you, at that moment, a door in my, oh, guys, that's my mama right there. Okay? I missed that screen. That's my mama. She's awesome. Look at her. And I'm afraid of that woman. She's got a strong right hand. Okay? I love my mama very much. Told you she's a woman of strength. That right hand is full of strength. Okay. Something in my life had changed. It opened. A door in my life had opened. I became certified. I worked as a nurse's aide at Meadow Creek. I then moved back to my hometown of Menard, and I continued to work as a nurse's aide while cleaning houses on the side as well. My life was really good. It was good. I had been blessed. And then it happened. One day, while sitting at the kitchen table of my own apartment, because I moved out of my own apartment, I was teaching my son his ABCs, and I received a call that would take me on another journey. I don't know. Maybe one of life's big mysteries. But an old teammate from college was on the other end of the phone. She said, hey, would you like to play basketball? I said, are you here? She said, no, we need a guard. Would you be interested in playing basketball here in Australia? A week later, I made the decision to sell what I needed to. I rented a storage for the rest. I shared the news with my mom and dad. I got our passports, and I boarded a plane 24 and a half hours to Perth, Western Australia. This was going to be a little bit more than my trip to Washington, D.C. First of all, I'd never been on a plane. I had never been out of the country. When I arrived to LAX, which is the size of Menard, I had to walk from domestic to international. When I finally arrived to our terminal, I stood in front of the window looking at our plane, which was a large double-decker upstairs. It looked like a hotel tipped on its side. And I thought, this thing is never getting off of the runway. Boarding, I knew there was no turning back. I sat frozen in the window seat while my almost 3-year-old was running up and down the aisle. Our flight consisted of a stop in Tokyo, a night in Kuala Lumpur, and then a quick 5-hour flight to Perth, where I immediately jumped into the driver's seat because I had no idea, because they drive on the wrong side of the road, or at least we do, is what I've been told. Okay. I lived in Australia for 10 months. I played for the Perth Redbacks. I worked as a part-time coach in an all-girls private school. When I wasn't playing ball or working, I was enjoying the outback, taking in the Australian culture, the accent, the driving, the ocean, and of course, the fish and chips. This was in 2000. So Australia did have something pretty amazing happening in 2000. I don't know if some of y'all recall that. I guess I can say I was pretty lucky because this happened in 2000. They were sending the Olympic torch around, and I was hoping to get a glimpse. I was standing in the corner to get a picture, and Tristan and I were just standing there. We got pushed and pushed and pushed until we ended up in the middle of the road. I got grabbed, and that's why we look the way we do, because I didn't realize they were going to grab us. I will tell you that when the season ended, I came home. I came home a different me, an experienced me, and a confident me. I took a position again for home health services, and I continued to work as a nurse's aide. And I'll share something really sweet with you. The whole time that I was gone, I worked for home health before I left, and then when I came back, I worked for home health. The whole time I was gone, my friends, my patients, they wrote to me the whole time I was gone. So I had their letters back and forth, so they lived this little adventure with me, which was really awesome. I know when I got back, I knew I needed to teach my son a final lesson, and that was that I needed to finish what I started. So this is when I decided to re-enroll in college. I often say I went back to college for him, but I know that I finished college for myself. In 2004, I graduated from Angelo State University with a double major in psychology and communication. I was the first in my family to finish college, but this would not be possible or would have been possible without the support of my family, friends, and yes, a teacher. Well, an ASU professor, to be completely honest. Traveling back and forth from Menard and going to college was really difficult. I think it was maybe 2002, 2003. I can, if we need specific dates, I can get my transcript out if we need to. But I was taking a kinesiology class because I love sports, but I missed a class because I was having trouble finding a babysitter at the time, and I felt really bad, so I told the professor, and the professor at the time insisted that if I had that issue, just bring him to class. And so I did. And he may be one of ASU's youngest college students at 5. And we'll say that. And eventually we both ended up passing the class. And she was here at my 2 o'clock one, and she asked me, she said, do you remember if you got an A or a B? And I was like, I don't know. I'll have to look at the transcript. I think it was an A. But I did thank the professor, and it would be a while before I would see her, but the next time I saw this professor would be here. I would see Dr. Susan Keith at my 2017 graduation ceremonies when I received my master's. And we would both be surprised to see each other. And she was here today, so I got to give her a really big surprise. But I thank Dr. Keith because she not only allowed me to be a student, but she allowed me to be a mom too. And she also taught me that sometimes we have to stretch the necessary boundaries to help our students find success. So you future teachers and you current teachers, just keep that in mind. That's important. So after graduating in 2004, I became a community specialist for the Alcohol and Drug Abuse Council for the Concho Valley here in San Angelo, working with students on drug abuse. In and out of schools in West Texas, giving presentations, and far from my high school days, I never thought basketball would become my final lesson. Rock bottom is a great place to start a foundation. Junction school counselor Robin Gardner asked me one day at lunch, she said, Saucy, she said, you played high school ball, you played college ball, and you even played overseas. She said, why aren't you coaching with all that basketball knowledge? Well, I guess you could say the rest is history. I loved being in the classroom. Why not coach? I said. So I did the non-typical teacher thing. I became emergency certified, and as the head girls varsity coach, I would drive home from game nights on Friday, and I would leave every other Saturday at 4:30 in the morning to attend my 8 a.m. class in Austin. And the reason I did that is because Austin traffic is ridiculous. Okay, and I did this for my first year as a teacher, and 14 years later, Mr. Clausen, I still love my job. I will tell you, when I became a teacher and a coach, I never expected a plaque. I never expected a medal or recognition for my job. I felt blessed to be a college graduate, and I felt blessed to be an educator for the state of Texas. In fact, when my principal at Brady High School called me into his office about a nomination for the Teacher of the Year. It was a surprising honor. In basketball lingo, it felt like an MVP title. It was a song from Miss Lewis. It was a high five from Coach Cav. It was a story from Mr. Niffen. It was no red markings on my paper from Miss Jackson. It was a hug from Dr. Keith, and it was an honor that I knew that would make Miss Austin so proud. But I will tell you, like everything else in my life, it would happen. It wouldn't happen without its lifetime movie moments either. When I stepped into my principal's office at the end of April, this girl can tell you right here, I was coming in as an FCS teacher and an advisor who just had 2 teams to qualify for the national conference in DC because she was on that team. Plane tickets, itineraries, scheduled parent meetings, registrations, all of that lied ahead that I needed to do. I was the head senior sponsor, so graduation around the corner, a senior trip to plan, and then part of the graduation class was my son. I was finalizing details to help him prepare for the next phase of his life. So to say the least, I was a little preoccupied. During my conference period, I paid a visit to my principal's office, as requested by his email, where he handed me a small packet and said, "I'd like to nominate you for Teacher of the Year." We had a friendly conversation where he thanked me for being a teacher and I thanked him for nominating me. I walked back to my room and I stuck the packet in my bag. That afternoon, after school, I took it out and I looked at the application. It was due the first week of June to Region 15. It was a pretty standard application. The first page asking for your typical information, Miss Struby, your name, your school, years of experience. The next page was your educational history, professional development, much like a resume. And then this would be followed by 5 essays. Nope. I closed the packet and I remember saying to myself, "Thank you, Mr. Bierman, but no thank you." I just didn't have the time. That packet would stay in my bag for a week before I would mention it to anyone. And of course, the first person that I would say anything to, because it would come out of my mouth, would be Miss Austin. So I said, "Look, Mr. Bierman nominated me for this Teacher of the Year thing," and immediately she said, "Martha, you have to do it." I said, "Miss Austin, I don't have the time." "Martha, you need to do it. Does this sound familiar? It was just like high school all over again." I said, "Okay, Miss Austin, I'll do it." She said, "I'll meet you wherever we need to. We'll just go over it. We'll go back and forth and back and forth." Eventually, I had to call on friends to help me out too. So, the day that it was due, Laura, you need to hear this. I drove up to Region 15. I was going to drop it in the drop box overnight. I thought, Saucedo, take one more look. The stress of this thing and 5 essays. So I went all the way through the packet and got to the last page and said, "You have got to be kidding me. How did I miss this? I needed a 5x7 publicity headshot. I live an hour away. I don't carry headshots." So I did what any good teacher would do. I drove to the nearest Walmart. I took a selfie in the parking lot. I dropped it off and I wiped my hands clean of that thing. I went on. It was during the 4th of July week. We were in Washington, D.C., where the kids were competing in the national finals. I received a call from Laura Struby, Associate Director at Region 15, working at that time. It was about our 3rd day into our trip. It's a very busy time for students and for the advisors. I was focused on the kids and I thought, Laura's just being really nice. She's just giving me a courtesy call saying thank you for turning in the application. Gave it a good try. Thank you. So I thought, I'll just give her a call another time. So 3 days later, we're coming back. Congratulations to our kids. They have a gold and a silver medal. We're going to go out and we're going to celebrate their success. I take out my phone to call Laura Struby, who tells me that I've been chosen as Region 15 Secondary Teacher of the Year. Are you serious? Tears just start flowing down in my eyes. where the last few months I have been going through all of these things, and every word I've written in these essays are just falling from my face. My students are circling around like vultures because they've never seen me cry. And then my son comes down from the elevator. He comes up to me and I whisper to him that I've won. And he's calming all my students down, saying they're good tears, it's okay. And then my principal comes up to me and congratulates me. And I said, Mr. Bierman, you knew? And he said, I've known for 3 days, Martha, you've been killing me. I said, really, Mr. Bierman? So again, Washington was an incredible trip for me. So as we returned home, it was all about my students' success in their national trip. I come up to see Laura where I'm handed my packet again, and she tells me, fix your errors. We got to send this up to Austin. You're going to be representing Region 15 for the Texas Teacher of the Year. Of course, the first thing I need to do is fix that photo. It's terrible. The first week of August, I move my son into his dorms. I have to schedule my yearly checkup. It's been a busy summer. So while at the doctor's office, they discover I have a knot in my breast, and we schedule to have a mammogram. A few days later, I'm having a very casual conversation about how it's a good idea for me to be having a mammogram now because I'm 40 years old. The nurse said, don't worry, honey, you're going to be out and quickly. You're so young. There is nothing for you to worry about. So they took an image, and a few minutes later, she returned and said, okay, we just need to do a few more. No big deal. So after a few more shots, she returns back with a smile and says, okay, just a few more. A little bit more time passes, and then she returns with a smile, not so convincing. She assures me it's no big deal, but that we need to do a sonogram. Once they were done, they moved me into a room, and she said someone would be in to speak with me soon. Well, I want to begin with saying that I suggest they redecorate the room. I sat in that room alone with cancer pamphlets all around me. All I kept thinking was routine mammogram, huh? 40 years old. They don't know me. They don't know that I watched a dear friend of mine's mom take her last breath from her fight from breast cancer. They don't know that my grandpa died from his battle with cancer. I was scared and I didn't want to show it. She was really sweet when she came back and explained to me that I would need to schedule a biopsy, and the only thing I could think in the back of my head was school's going to start in 2 weeks, so we need to get it done before that. And then who could I share this with? I eventually made the call to my son Tristan, and I told him, look, honey, if it is, it is. We're going to be fine. We've survived everything else. Told him to stay at school. The next week, I went in for my biopsy, and the following week, I went to teacher work week. That Thursday afternoon, with students working in my room, Rita, you were in my room, I got a call from the doctor's office. I walked outside, and I let the sun come down on my face. Early that day, I held hands with our secretary, Karen Bivens, and we had prayed. And that prayer was answered. It wasn't cancer. And that Monday was the first day of school. And as everyone gathered in the gym, we got ready for our usual announcements and our welcome back. And as my principal made his way to the gym floor, he had someone I hadn't seen before, and he had our superintendent, Johnny Clausen, with him. He called me to the gym floor, and he announced to the school that I was a finalist for the Texas Teacher of the Year. I will tell you, I hadn't been that emotional since I was pregnant. I was a complete mess. And I want to tell you, that time flew up to the actual ceremony because every teacher is busy, and no matter who I was no different leading up to that ceremony. TASA, the Texas Association of School Administrators, sponsors the Texas Teacher of the Year, would hold a couple of days of honoring the regional teachers. This includes meals and having the opportunity to meet some political figures, which includes your governor, your state representative, your State Board of Education and Commissioner. The day before they announced the Texas teachers, they hold a dinner for everyone. They gathered the finalists for some last-minute details about media do's and don'ts, and then they advised each of us to go back to our rooms and to write a speech. That night, around 11:30 p.m., at an In-N-Out Burger, I remembered, Martha, you haven't written your speech. So I reached inside my purse and I grabbed the only piece of paper I had. It was a grant application form from Walmart that I was going to use to fill out for my FCCLA students. And I wrote my speech on the back of that paper with no intention of ever using it. And the next day, as the secondary teacher, Texas Teacher of the Year, I read my speech from the back of that Walmart application form. I will tell you, my accomplishments in education aren't hanging in my living room. They don't dangle from my neck. They are students. They are students in this room. There are 3 very important lessons on how I became a big sister. What is my greatest contribution to education? Well, taking these experiences and factors and lessons that influenced my life and giving them to better my students every day. Being a teacher is special. Teaching is not a profession. It is a vocation. It is a calling. Every day different, every child unique, every challenge worth taking. I'm going to tell you, every single one of you in here, if you don't like confrontation, you don't become a lawyer. If you don't like driving, you don't become a truck driver. If you don't like the sight of blood, you don't become a surgeon. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? If you don't like children, then don't become a teacher. I truly believe that when it comes to a career, you can't be just passionate about one thing. You got to love it all. And is it all roses and rhinestones? Absolutely not. But if everything were perfect, we would have no room for improvement. And where would we be had we stopped at the first of anything? Robert Fuller, a teacher and former NASA engineer, said it best. He said, teaching isn't rocket science. It's harder. To solve engineering problems, you have to use your brain. But to solve classroom problems, you have to use your whole being. At times, our whole being is challenged by those who have never stepped in our shoes as educators. Deidre, I once read, teacher, we laugh, we cry, and we work harder than we ever thought we could. Some days we try to change the world, and some days we're just trying to make it through the day. A day when the copier doesn't jam, when every student has a pencil, when I'm not called by the office to turn in my attendance. As teachers, our wallets are empty, our hearts are full, and our minds are packed with memories of kids who have changed our lives. It's just another day in our classroom, isn't it? I will tell you this, guys. I didn't become a teacher because I only had 3 jobs to choose from. I didn't become a teacher because it's a woman's job. I didn't become a teacher because I couldn't do anything else. I didn't become a teacher because I wanted to be a hero. I became a teacher because it was who I was meant to be. My job is important. Like many in the medical profession, we too have the capability to save and to destroy lives. We may be overworked and underpaid, but there is value in everything we do. A doctor may operate in a brain a day, but a teacher will operate on 100 or more a day. And if that operation of educating is not done with preparation, precision, and patience, the negative effects can be long-lasting. Trust me, this is coming from a student who once believed she would never amount to anything. I will tell you, my job is to inspire, to motivate, and to be contagious in a good way. If my students' needs are put first, then I am someone who can improve the teaching profession. I don't stand apart or above my students. I stand for them. And while I'm aware that I am only one, I am someone who can start something. My journey may have started as a big sister, but now it is my responsibility to be a leader, a protector, and a role model to all those who come into my life. That means all you too. I see you, all of you. And I'll tell you, there are a million books, TED Talks, YouTube videos out there on how to build relationships with students, but let's be honest, there's only one reason we call them our kids, because being a teacher is more than a lesson plan. Being a teacher is more than a project. It's more than a tardy. It's more than just filling a head with information. It's about inspiring a mind. It's about caring for students like they were our family. See, little did I know that when I became their big sister, Rocky, Armanzo, Adam, and Thomas's big sister, that those 3 valuable life lessons would lead me to this point in my life. This is going to surprise you right here, right? A point where I am happy, but also a point in my life where I am going to fail. And that is okay. The truth is, we all fall a little short sometimes. Some days I feel like I'm exactly where I need to be. And other days I feel like I can eat 2 dozen tamales in one setting. Because that's my weakness. I fail some days at being a daughter. I fail some days as being a friend. Ask my friends right here in the front row. I fail sometimes at being a speaker. I fail at work. I fail sometimes at being a mom. But every day, I know I have another chance and the opportunity to be the best version of myself. So what can this teacher give you from her life? I'm about to give it to you. Ready? Sit back. Buckle up. Here's what I'm about to give you. Lesson 1. Appreciate the value of learning. You learn from everything and everyone around you, because just maybe, your life doesn't turn out exactly the way you have it planned. Life is like a camping trip. Raise your hand if you've ever gone camping. Don't you lie to me. Do you ever overpack? Raise your hand if you ever overpack on a camping trip. Okay? I know I do. Extra shoes, sweatpants, weather, umbrella for rain, extra clothes, towels. Don't even get me started on camping accessories, bug spray, lotions, Band-Aids. I end up walking out of my house looking like I'm about to climb Mount Everest. I used to share with my students all the time, you know what, guys? Life is a trip. You fill your backpack. Fill it with good grammar, Shakespeare, the scientific method, moments in history that changed our nation. You fill it with languages of love, art, welding, cooking. Stuff it with all the information that comes your way. And you remember that a good education happens all around you. All around you. When creating your resume, go beyond creating the linear life. It's more than just dates and achievements. You better throw in a little adventure, because we all know chaos is going to be there. Lesson number 2, failure doesn't mean done, it just means do over. Failure is your opportunity, and here is my teacher Pinterest worthy truth. You and only you are responsible for who you become and how happy you are. Your life should be a journey that takes you from one awesome destination to the next. It should not be a merry-go-round that just brings you to the same spot every time until you get nauseated. You want to jump off that thing. Be more than who you are right now, but don't expect things to change overnight. You're going to have to work hard, and you're going to fail, and that's okay. Just remember, many successful people have failed, and they've done great things afterwards. Number 3, rock bottom is a great place to start a foundation. Everyone has a different rock bottom. Maybe even a different meaning for rock bottom, but it's impossible to go somewhere new, to become someone new without acknowledging where you currently are. When I look back at some of the difficult points in my life, I can't help but to look at the negative things that were around me. People, places, and things that were all plain sounds in my ears that had become a white noise that I had gotten used to. Change is hard. Change can be life-changing. People, places, and things. But you got to be honest with yourself. You got to ask yourself, what are you worth? What do you have to give? And what are you going to do about it? And these are all 3 great life lessons. But there's one key element missing here. Someone once asked me how I was able to overcome some of the terrible things that happened in my life. And while I didn't have an answer then, she knows. I think I have the perfect answer now. I would say I was the firstborn, oldest of 5, and the only girl. I guess you could say I was born with a little toughness and a little teacher. 3 lessons that brought me to teaching and a little toughness that got me through life. As much as my brothers needed me, I needed my brothers. This is who I am. I love my football. I'm pretty competitive. I'll hang with the boys. And let's face it, my true girlfriends will tell you the only girly thing I'm good at is drinking wine. So, as you journey to discover the best version of who you are, you need to remember to be tough. Be tough as you learn. Be tough as you fail. Be tough as you begin anything from the bottom. Life can be hard, but you were meant to live it, not survive it. So, my last words are going to come to you in a slam, because I think I like to be Cardi B someday, but it's not going to happen in any time in my lifetime because I'm just not Cardi B. But I do this because I just love Miss Austin, and she fueled in me this. Don't record this, Erin. Look at you. She's recording this because she's going to send it to Miss Austin. I know her. But so my last words to you come in a slam, and of course I got to give a big shout out. You can give this a big shout out to Miss Austin. Miss Austin, I love you for fueling my passion to write. So each of you, I beg you to grab every opportunity that comes before you, moves you, entertains you, inspires you. You all need to reach out for greatness. Be fearless, follow your dreams, set yourself as limitless. Don't allow your concerns to darken your ability to see the possibilities that you will in each encounter toward your step toward the future. You find a reason, a purpose, a goal. Set yourself on a path that you desire, where you'll find success, where you grow. You set the bar high. Do the difficult, the complicated, the complex. Leave them asking what, why, how. You leave them perplexed. You see the world needs more movers than shakers. I don't need a break. I want the icing on the cake, the cherry on top, because we're takers. No mistake, take a double take, because this is your life. Your chance to stop the naysayers and seize your doubts, to go and find the life you won't leave without. You just do it. If you love reading, then pick up a book. If it's dancing, then move your feet. Welding, an artist, the writer who puts words on a sheet. Find your passion. Fall in love with the life you refuse to sacrifice. For this is a moment, a fragment, a speck of time in your life where you have the opportunity to choose to set back or to strive. Strive toward the person you were destined to be, the one others need. Happy to work with, count on the one that when you look in the mirror, you're happy to see. Live your life with respect. Respect for yourself, for others, with empathy, integrity, class for one another. Live your life every day as you should, so one day you can tell yourself, yeah, I lived, and I lived it good. And ladies and gentlemen, that's just another story. May you always be motivated to be the best version of yourself every single day. Thank you. I'm going to steal the mic. Okay, so I've had a lot of people in the past that have asked me about the ABCs of education. Guys, if you know a teacher, you're a future teacher, I do have the ABCs of education up here. You are welcome to come and get you one. It has my contact information on the other side. You new teachers, okay, you need a vent, you want to cry, you want to talk to me, my information is here. I'm here for you, okay? Call on me, okay? I expect you to come and see me. You're a former student, a friend, I expect you to come and see me and give me a hug. So if you know somebody who could use some ABCs, please come and take them. They're yours. I appreciate all of you, and I'm going to give this to Dr. Carew. Thank you all again. I appreciate all of you.
All right, so we want to just thank you for coming out this evening and attending our education symposium. We do have the floor open for a few minutes anyway. If anybody does have any questions for Martha, you are welcome to ask her at this time. She said no one's going to have questions. You don't? It's okay. You're welcome to still come up and ask when everybody is kind of headed out. That's fine as well. I do want to tell you, again, thank you very much. We do appreciate it. And the surveys that you received, if you will fill it out either on that paper or go ahead and do the online version, Dr. Dickerson is at the back with the red bucket. You can just slip it inside of there and head out and have a great evening and be safe going home. Thank you again. Appreciate it.